Ashley and Vivian visit Houston. The soft, familiar notes of Anita Baker's Caught Up in the Rapture floated through the apartment, wrapping Riley in a blanket of nostalgia as she stood barefoot in front of her mirror. The early sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting warm, lazy streaks across the room. A bowl sat ready on the dresser. She sparked it, taking a slow pull, letting the warmth spread through her as the music played on. Today wasn't a heavy outfit day. It was all about comfort and ease. She pulled on olive cargo pants that sat low on her hips, pairing them with an oversized white button-down she left half-tucked at the front. A simple gold necklace rested against her collarbone, and she slid on a stack of wooden bangles that clinked softly with every movement. Her wooden watch sat snug on her wrist, a piece that always made her feel put together without trying too hard. For earrings, she opted for small studs, and after a quick glance in the mirror, she grabbed a black snapback, setting it at just the right angle. On her feet, her all-white Air Force Ones gleamed, clean, just the way she liked them. She took another pull from the bowl, letting the buzz settle deep into her bones. The cousins were landing soon, and it was time to bring a little piece of Memphis into Houston for the day. The airport was bustling, but Riley found Ashley and Vivian easily. They stood near the baggage claim, chatting animatedly. Ashley in jeans and a cropped hoodie, waving excitedly when she spotted Riley, and Vivian more reserved, dressed in slacks and a neat blouse, pulling her suitcase behind her with a quiet smile. "There she go," Ashley grinned, pulling Riley into a tight hug. "Look at you, city girl." Riley laughed, hugging her back. "It ain't that serious." Vivian smiled warmly, adjusting her glasses. "It's good to see you, Riley. You look happy." "Thanks, y'all. I missed you both," Riley said, meaning it. "Y'all hungry? I know a spot." Riley took them to a local breakfast cafe where the cousins marveled at the warm weather and the bustling streets. They ordered pancakes, eggs, bacon, and mimosas, diving into conversation as the food arrived. "So," Ashley said between bites, "you really done with Memphis, huh? Just left us for good?" Riley smirked. "I didn't leave for good. I just needed a change. Y'all know how it is." Vivian sipped her coffee, her brow lifting slightly. "We know, but Memphis is home." Ashley grinned. Yeah, I see you though, out here living your best life." She gave Riley a playful nudge. "So, what's this I hear about you switching teams?" Riley shook her head, laughing. "Of course you heard." Vivian glanced between them, her expression somewhere between curious and cautious. "It's different, that's for sure." Ashley rolled her eyes. "Don't start, Viv. If she's happy, that's all that matters." "I didn't say anything," Vivian replied, holding up her hands. "I'm just saying, it's an adjustment." Riley shrugged, smiling softly. "It's new for me too, but it feels right, you know?" Ashley gave her a supportive grin, while Vivian just gave a small nod. She wasn't sold on it, but she wasn't here to ruin the vibe either. A tour of Houston. After breakfast, Riley took them sightseeing around Houston. They hit some touristy spots, snapping pictures by murals, strolling through the park, and grabbing iced coffees from a trendy spot downtown. By late afternoon, Riley could tell they were winding down. She glanced over at her cousins. "What do y'all think about heading back to my place and having dinner there? I can call some of the girls over." Ashley beamed. "Perfect. I'm tired of walking." Vivian smiled. "That sounds good. It'll be nice to meet some of your new friends." The apartment smelled like garlic and herbs as Riley finished setting the table. She'd kept the meal simple: pasta, salad, and garlic bread, with a couple of bottles of wine ready to be opened. The doorbell rang, and Riley let in Talia, Simone, Nia, Bria, and Sierra. Talia and Simone greeted Ashley and Vivian like long-lost family, hugging them tight and laughing about old memories from Memphis. "It's wild seeing y'all again," Ashley said, looking around. "It's like a little Memphis reunion." Sierra, who had always been more of a virtual presence, gave a small wave. "Y'all finally get to meet me in real life." "Right?" Ashley teased. 10 years of Facebook, and now here we are." They all settled into the living room, plates in hand, the wine flowing freely. The energy was relaxed, warm, and familiar, like they'd known each other forever. After dinner, Ashley pulled out a deck of cards with a mischievous grin. "All right, y'all, who's ready to get whooped in spades?" Riley groaned. "Don't start with me. Y'all know I don't play." The room erupted in laughter. "How you grown and don't know how to play spades?" Bria teased. "I got other talents," Riley shot back, grinning. "Like cheerleading for whoever wins." Talia shook her head. "Girl, you know you better not sit down at a spades table without knowing what you're doing." "Exactly," Simone added. "Ain't nobody got time for that. If Johnny had 5 apples nonsense." Riley threw up her hands, laughing. "That's why I'm staying over here. Y'all are ruthless." They finally settled on playing Taboo, with the room filled with shouts and laughter as everyone tried to outdo each other. Riley cheered on Ashley and Talia, who made an unstoppable team, while Vivian sat back with a glass of wine, smiling quietly. As the night began to slow, the chatter faded into soft laughter and the occasional clink of wine glasses. The food had been devoured, the games played, and everyone was draped across couches, chairs, and each other, pleasantly exhausted but not quite ready to sleep. "All right," Riley said, standing up and stretching her arms above her head. "Let's get this sleepover situation going. Who's sleeping where?" Talia leaned back lazily from her spot on the couch, raising a hand. "I'm calling your bed. That's non-negotiable." "Me too," yelled Vivian. Riley smirked. "Of course you are." 20 minutes later, Riley leaned back in bed against the pillows, pulling a blanket over her legs. The familiar weight of the day began to settle, but instead of feeling heavy, it felt manageable. Maybe that was all she needed for now, a good day, a little love, and the space to keep figuring things out as she went. She smiled to herself, closing her eyes as the quiet comfort of home wrapped around her. It was just past 10 p.m., and Riley was sprawled across her bed, scrolling through her phone lazily when it buzzed with a new text. Her heart skipped a beat as Sloan's name flashed on the screen. "Sloan? You up?" Riley smirked, biting her lip as she stared at the message. It had been a little while since she'd seen Sloan, maybe a week, maybe 2, long enough for the space between them to feel noticeable. And honestly, Riley didn't mind the gap. The thrill was still there, still potent, and just enough time apart always seemed to make the next time even better. She didn't even think twice. "Riley, be there in 30. Riley swung her legs off the bed, feeling the familiar buzz of anticipation begin to stir. She padded barefoot to her dresser, flipping open her Bluetooth speaker and queuing up her 70s slow grooves playlist. The smooth, soulful notes of the Isley Brothers' "Groove With You" filled the room, wrapping around her like a warm breeze. Moving to the beat, she poured herself a small glass of red wine and took a slow sip, savoring it as she pulled open her closet. Tonight wasn't a night for dressing up, just something simple and easy. She slipped into gray joggers, soft against her skin, and threw on a plain white tee that fit just right. Sliding her Nike slides on her feet, she gave herself a quick once-over in the mirror. She wasn't dressing to impress tonight. It was just Sloan. But the music was hitting, and she couldn't help herself. With her wine in hand, she started to sway, spinning in front of the mirror with lazy, easy movements. Right on cue, Ashley poked her head in from the living room doorway. "Look at you, still got that same old ritual," she teased, grinning. "Dancing in the mirror while you get ready. You've been doing this since we were kids." Riley laughed, throwing a playful glance over her shoulder. "And you know it still works." Ashley folded her arms, leaning against the door frame. "Where you sneaking off to this time of night, though?" "Don't worry about it," Riley teased, swaying to the music and finishing the last sip of her wine. "I'll be back before y'all even wake up." Ashley gave her a knowing look, a sly grin spreading across her face. "Ooh, come through with the booty call energy." Riley rolled her eyes, grinning. "Come on, Maine. Ain't nothing like that." Vivian appeared quietly behind Ashley, giving Riley a softer, more reserved smile. "Be safe, though," Vivian said gently, tucking her hands into the sleeves of her hoodie. "And have fun, I guess." There was a flicker of something close to approval in her expression, though she'd never say it out loud. Riley chuckled, setting her wine glass on the dresser. "Thanks, Viv. Y'all get some rest. I'll be back in a few." Riley grabbed her phone, keys, and wallet, sliding everything into her pockets as she made her way toward the door. The music still hummed softly behind her, following her steps. She took a deep breath, adjusted her snapback, and slid into the driver's seat of her car. As the Isley Brothers continued to play in her head, she grinned to herself, the excitement buzzing under her skin. Tonight was going to be a good night. Riley parked in front of Sloan's Airbnb and took a moment to stare. Even in the dim glow of the streetlights, the place looked like something out of a dream. A sleek, modern two-story structure tucked neatly behind a gate. The house felt like a quiet declaration of power, subtle but undeniable. Floor-to-ceiling windows gave glimpses of a minimalist interior, and the manicured hedges lining the walkway looked like they'd never seen a day of neglect. "This is it. This is what making it looks like." Riley blew out a breath, smoothing her hands down her joggers before grabbing her phone and stepping out of the car. When the front door swung open, Sloan stood there barefoot, her silk robe hanging open just enough to hint at what was underneath. "You gonna stand out there all night?" Sloan teased, her lips curving into that slow, wicked smile Riley knew too well. Riley grinned, slipping off her slides at the door. "Miss me?" "You know I did," Sloan murmured, her fingers curling into Riley's waistband, tugging her inside with easy confidence. Riley's eyes roamed the space, taking it in as she followed Sloan deeper into the house. Polished marble floors gleamed under the warm light. Every piece of furniture was sleek, black leather and glass, expensive but not gaudy. The walls were lined with large art pieces that Riley couldn't name, but she knew enough to know they weren't cheap. "Damn," Riley whispered under her breath. "This is ridiculous." Sloan poured 2 glasses of wine in the open kitchen, smirking as she handed one to Riley. "Yeah, well, it won't be mine for long." Sloan looked over at Riley with a glint in her eye, her voice casual but inviting. "Next weekend, we're throwing a wrap party to celebrate the campaign's success. Teams all coming out from NYC to celebrate. You should be there," she said, her tone layered with that unmistakable mix of command and allure. Riley grinned. "Wouldn't miss it." Sloane's gaze lingered on her, sharp and knowing. "You're not here to talk about that, though, are you?" In the bedroom, Sloane's robe slipped to the floor without ceremony, and Riley wasted no time, running her hands over Sloane's bare skin with a familiarity that still managed to feel thrilling. "You ready for me to ruin you?" Sloane teased, her lips brushing along Riley's jawline. Riley smirked. Not a chance. They moved together like they always did, hands exploring freely, no hesitation, no awkwardness. It was like muscle memory at this point. Sloane's soft gasps, the way her back arched under Riley's touch, the low hum of satisfaction that filled the room. The strap lay on the dresser where Sloane had left it earlier, and Riley glanced at it, feeling the flutter of nerves mixed with excitement. Sloane noticed and grinned. I thought maybe we could try something new. Go on, Sloane murmured, tilting her head toward it. Let's see what you got. She picked up the harness, feeling the weight of it in her hands. This was new indeed. Not even on her radar. New. She fumbled with the straps for a moment, trying to figure out how it's supposed to fit. Sloane sat on the bed, her expression relaxed, watching with quiet amusement. You're overthinking it, Sloane teased. Just put it on. Riley exhaled sharply, adjusting the buckles until the harness sat snug around her hips. It felt strange but good, like slipping into an alternate version of herself. Sloane grinned, her gaze dark with anticipation. Look at you, all strapped up and ready to go. Riley climbed onto the bed, hovering over Sloane, feeling her nerves melt away under the heat of Sloane's gaze. She ran her hands down Sloane's thighs, feeling the smooth stretch of skin beneath her fingers. She lifted her thigh with an aggression she hadn't felt before. Oh, you bossy tonight, huh? Sloane murmured, a slow grin spreading across her lips. Riley responded with a low growl, leaning down to capture Sloane's mouth in a deep, hungry kiss. The first few moments were a little clumsy, Riley adjusting her stance, getting used to the feel of the harness. Sloane gasped softly as Riley found her rhythm, her hands gripping Riley's arms in encouragement. There you go, Sloane whispered, her voice breathless but steady. That's it. Riley grinned, her confidence growing with every gasp that slipped from Sloane's lips. She started to move with more precision, finding a pace that made Sloane arch beneath her. You're a natural, Sloane murmured, her nails grazing Riley's back. Riley laughed softly, shifting her angle until Sloane's breath hitched, a sharp gasp filling the space between them. It felt good, better than Riley had imagined. The thrill of control, the heat of Sloane's body beneath hers, and the easy electric connection between them fueled every movement. Sloane's moans grew louder, her hands gripping Riley tighter as she lost herself in the moment. Riley leaned down, her lips brushing against Sloane's ear. Mmm. Sloane's response was ragged and breathless. The room blurred around them. There was only the heat, the rhythm, and the way Sloane's body gave itself over completely. Every moan, every gasp, fed Riley's confidence, and soon the hesitation she'd started with melted away entirely. Sloane's head tilted back against the pillows, her hands gripping Riley's arms with enough force to leave a memory. Riley kept her movements steady, watching with quiet satisfaction as Sloane unraveled beneath her. There was no awkwardness, no guessing, just the two of them finding a rhythm and chasing pleasure however they wanted, with no need to explain anything. It was thrilling, freeing. They collapsed onto the bed in a heap, tangled limbs and slick skin, breathing hard but with matching lazy smiles, tugging at their lips. Sloane's arm draped over Riley's waist, her fingertips tracing light patterns across her skin. Neither of them moved right away, basking in the glow of what they'd shared. That, Sloane whispered, her voice low and satisfied, was great. Riley laughed softly, rolling onto her side to face Sloane. I started to get the hang of it at the end there. Sloane chuckled, shifting to nestle against Riley's shoulder. Indeed you did. A couple more times and you'll be unstoppable. Riley let out a breathless laugh, loving how Sloane's praise felt light but still meaningful. They weren't the kind of people to get wrapped up in emotions, but these moments, lying here, spent and content, meant something. After a while, Riley broke the comfortable silence. So, you ready to head back to New York? How's the end of business coming along? Sloan sighed, her hand still lazily tracing along Riley's arm. It's coming. Got most of it figured out. And we can't forget the party, of course. Riley grinned, propping her head up on her hand. The famous going away party. You better show up, Sloan teased, a playful gleam in her eye. Riley smirked, pressing a kiss to Sloane's shoulder. Wouldn't miss it. Riley slipped out of bed, her movements slow and deliberate. She reached for her joggers and tea, pulling them on with the kind of care that came from a night well spent. Sloan stayed where she was, half covered by the sheet, her smile lazy and content as she watched Riley dress. You sneaking out under the cloak of darkness, huh? Sloan said jokingly, her voice still laced with sleep. Gotta get home before my cousins wake up. Sloan chuckled softly, her fingers trailing down Riley's arm one last time. Good luck with that. Riley grinned, slipping her phone and keys into her pocket. I'll see you soon. You know where to find me, Sloan said with a smirk, her voice low and smooth as ever. The night air was cool against Riley's skin as she stepped outside, the city quiet and still under the early morning sky. She slid into her car, a small smile playing on her lips as the warmth of the night lingered in her bones. By the time she made it back to her apartment, the place was still and dark, her cousins sound asleep in their scattered spots. She moved quietly, slipping into her room and under the covers without waking anyone. That was a feat in and of itself as loud as Riley was. As she stretched out in bed, the events of the night replayed in her mind. Sloane's yielding body, the heat of their rhythm, the thrill of trying something new, and that lingering sense of ease that came with being with someone who didn't expect more than what she could give. A satisfied sigh slipped from her lips as she closed her eyes. She was getting the hang of this, bit by bit, night by night. And tonight? Tonight was good, shopping for the party. The lively chatter and music from nearby street performers filled the warm air as Riley and Sierra stepped into the sneaker store. The sharp scent of leather and rubber greeted them, and rows of exclusive kicks lined the walls. Riley wandered along the shelves, casually scanning, though her mind was already set on finding something special. You really about to go all out for this party, huh? Sierra teased, bumping her with a playful shoulder. Riley rolled her eyes, smirking. I mean, it's Sloane's going away party. Might as well look the part. Sierra gave her a knowing look. Girl, admit it, you're trying to show out just a little. Riley laughed, brushing her fingers over a pair of sneakers on display. Maybe. Then she saw them. The sage and tan dunks. They weren't flashy, but there was a subtle flair to them, something cool and understated, just like Riley. These, Riley whispered, pulling them off the shelf. The soft sage green overlays paired perfectly with the tan base, giving them a unique but versatile look. Sierra grinned. Yeah, those are the ones. You have to get them. Riley hesitated, flipping the price tag and wincing slightly. They're expensive as hell. Sierra waved her off. You deserve it. When's the last time you bought something just for you? Riley sighed, running her hand along the smooth fabric of the shoes. She hadn't treated herself in a while, and honestly, tonight felt like the right time. All right, fine, Riley said with a grin. I'm doing it. Sierra let out a small cheer. Now that's what I'm talking about. With the shoes bagged and in hand, they headed to a nearby boutique to complete the look. It didn't take long before they found the perfect pieces: cream-tailored trousers, a sleek tan blazer, and a silk sage tank top that added just the right pop of color. When Riley stepped out of the dressing room, Sierra's jaw dropped. "Girl," Sierra said, nodding approvingly, "you look fire. Sloan won't know what hit her." Riley turned to the mirror, adjusting the blazer and grinning at her reflection. The outfit was sharp, clean, and effortlessly fly, exactly how she wanted to show up. "Yeah," Riley said with a smirk. "This'll do." When Riley got home, she dropped her bags onto the couch and kicked off her slides, sinking into the cushions with a deep sigh. She pulled out her phone and quickly typed a message to Sloan. "Riley, got my outfit and shoes, all set for Friday. You ready?" Sloane's reply came fast. "Sloan, always ready. The real question is, are you?" Riley chuckled, her heart doing a little flip. This was their vibe: light, playful, and just enough to keep her intrigued. Then another message came through. "Sloan, I'm not gone hold you. I'm still thinking about last time." Riley grinned. "It was pretty great," she said, leaning back as her mind drifted back to that night, their last encounter, seared into her memory. Flashback, the night of complete pleasure. The air between them hummed with unspoken tension as they lay tangled on Sloane's bed, limbs intertwined, hands exploring with a lazy ease. Sloane straddled Riley's hips, her thighs warm and smooth against Riley's skin. The soft flicker of candlelight cast shadows over Sloane's sharp jawline, making her look like a living work of art. Sloane's hands roamed up Riley's torso, slipping beneath her shirt, dragging her nails lightly over Riley's nipples. Riley let out a low hum, enjoying the gentle scratch, her hips shifting instinctively under Sloane's weight. Sloane leaned down, brushing her lips along Riley's collarbone. Her kiss was slow, deliberate, and teasing, just enough to stir heat, but not enough to satisfy. Sloane's mouth moved lower, trailing kisses along Riley's stomach. There was a hunger in her voice when she said, "Relax, Riley." She moved lower, her mouth finding Riley's center, teasing her with soft kisses that made Riley's thighs tremble. "Oh," Riley whispered, her breath catching as Sloane moved expertly, deliberately. Riley's breath was ragged now, her body on fire. She threaded her fingers through Sloane's hair, trying to guide her back to where she needed her most, but Sloane resisted for just a moment longer, savoring the power. Riley's body tensed, the climax tearing through her with a sudden, overwhelming force. She climaxed with a sharp cry, her hips bucking uncontrollably. Afterward, Riley lay there, boneless and breathless, her fingers still tangled in Sloane's hair as she tried to catch her breath. Before she could fully recover, Sloane shifted gracefully on top of her, her legs straddling Riley's waist. "Oh, you ready? Riley murmured with a grin. Sloane leaned down, brushing her lips against Riley's in a teasing kiss. "You sure you've got it in you? You seem short of breath." The snug fit of Riley's new utility underwear made it easier than ever to move with precision. Riley loved these things. Sloane settled herself over it, her hips rolling slowly as she found the rhythm. Riley let her hands roam, gripping Sloane's hips, guiding her gently but firmly. They kept the rhythm steady, the heat between them building, each movement perfectly in sync. She pushed Sloane closer and closer to the edge, but each time Sloane's body tensed in that final moment, Riley pulled back slightly, leaving her just on the edge. This last time, there was no holding back. Sloane's moans turned into broken cries as wave after wave crashed over her body. Sloane slid off Riley slowly, collapsing beside her with a satisfied sigh. The soft flicker of candlelight cast lazy shadows across their tangled limbs. That was exceptional, Sloan murmured, her voice soft and content. Riley grinned, brushing a stray curl from Sloane's forehead. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Back to reality. The memory of Sloane's body beneath her, the way they moved together, lingered in Riley's mind for a moment longer before she blinked back into the present. She shook her head with a soft smile, exhaling deeply as if to clear the heat of the moment from her thoughts. It wasn't love. It never was. But it had been good. She stretched out on her couch, a familiar comfort settling over her, the daydream fading like the last notes of a song. It was a slow, easy evening, the kind Riley had come to appreciate more as she settled into her new rhythm. She wasn't rushing to be anywhere or with anyone, just content in her own company. Later that night, Riley found herself aimlessly scrolling. She told herself she was just killing time so she could drift off to sleep, but her fingers knew exactly where to go. Harper's story was first in line. 3 short clips, a crowded bar, a slow pan across a half-empty glass, and then just her hand, resting on the table, her rings catching the light. No face, no caption. Riley hesitated, then typed, "Looks like you're having a good night." The dots blinked, stopped, blinked again. Then came the reply. It's not bad. The company is what the company is. Riley couldn't take her eyes off the screen as the friendly banter went back and forth, her lips curving despite herself. The days passed in a blur